Esther chapter 8, verses 15 to 17, and chapter 9, verses 1 to 19. The Jews win the battle over their enemies. Mordecai left the king and went on his way. Mordecai was wearing royal clothes when he went. They were blue and white. He was also wearing a large gold crown, and he was wearing a purple coat. It was made out of fine linen. The city of Susa celebrated with great joy. The Jews were filled with joy and happiness. They were very glad because now they were being honored. They celebrated and enjoyed good food. They were glad and full of joy. That was true everywhere the king's order came. It was true in every territory and every city. Many people from other nations announced that they had become Jews. That's because they were so afraid of the Jews. The king's order had to be carried out on the 13th day of the 12th month. That was the month of Adar. On that day, the enemies of the Jews had hoped to win the battle over them, but now everything had changed. The Jews had gained the advantage over those who hated them. The Jews gathered together in their cities. They gathered in all the territories King Xerxes ruled over. They came together to attack those who were trying to destroy them. No one could stand up against them. The people from all the other nations were afraid of them. All the nobles in the territories helped the Jews. So did the royal officials, the governors, and the king's officers. That's because they were so afraid of Mordecai. He was well known in the palace. His fame spread all through the territories, so he became more and more important. The Jews struck down with swords all their enemies. They killed them and destroyed them. They did what they pleased to those who hated them. The Jews killed 500 men. They destroyed them in the fort of Susa. They also killed Parshandatha, Dalphon, Aspatha, Poratha, Adalia, Aridatha, Parmashta, Arisai, Aridai, and Vaizatha. They were the 10 sons of Haman. He was the son of Hammedatha. Haman had been the enemy of the Jews. They didn't take anything that belonged to their enemies. A report was brought to the king that same day. He was told how many men had been killed in the fort of Susa. He said to Queen Esther, "The Jews have killed 500 men. They destroyed them in the fort of Susa. They also killed the 10 sons of Haman there. What have they done in the rest of my territories? Now, what do you want? I'll give it to you. What do you want me to do for you? I'll do that too." "If it pleases you," Esther answered, "let the Jews in Susa carry out today's order tomorrow also. Stick poles through the dead bodies of Haman's 10 sons. Set them up where everyone can see them." So the king commanded that it be done. An order was sent out in Susa, and the king's men did to the bodies of Haman's sons everything they were told to do. The Jews in Susa came together on the 14th day of the month of Adar. They put 300 men to death in Susa, but they didn't take anything that belonged to those men. During that time, the rest of the Jews also gathered together. They lived in the king's territories. They came together to fight for their lives. They didn't want their enemies to bother them anymore. They wanted to get some peace and rest. So they killed 75,000 of their enemies. But they didn't take anything that belonged to them. It happened on the 13th of Adar. On the 14th day, they rested. They made it a day to celebrate with great joy, and they enjoyed good food. But the Jews in Susa had gathered together on the 13th and 14th. Then on the 15th, they rested. They made it a day to celebrate with great joy, and they enjoyed good food. That's why Jews who live out in the villages celebrate on the 14th of Adar. They celebrate that day with great joy, and they enjoy good food. They also give presents to each other on that day.